Hi, I'm Wilma Norton from the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay, and today I'm talking to Mallory Dimmitt, who is with the Love for Lawrence Foundation, which is a fund within the Community Foundation of Tampa Bay. And we're talking a little bit about what Love for Lawrence and the Dimmitt family and friends of the Dimmitt family have been doing around mental health and mental well-being for folks in our community before the COVID crisis, but also during this pandemic. So, hi, Mallory.
Hi.
Can you tell us a little bit about Love for Lawrence and how your family came to this work?
Certainly. Thank you so much for giving me the chance to talk about Love for Lawrence. It was founded in memory of my brother, Lawrence, who passed away almost 3 years ago now from suicide and at the age of 32. And we, his family members were, of course, wrecked with grief in after that time, but we were blessed to have a group of his closest friends and family members and community resources sort of rally around us. And we knew that we wanted to try to help prevent other families from having the same sort of suffering, and that we saw a direct link between the sort of stigma surrounding mental health and suicide that prevents people from seeking help when they need it. And so it became our mission to to organize as a fund with the help of the Community Foundation and to try to start programming and grant making that will help to eliminate stigma and just help people be able to talk more about mental health and suicide in the hopes of preventing tragedies for other families.
And can you talk a little bit about what kinds of grants that you were doing? You started grant making right before the COVID crisis, and then how you pivoted once the pandemic started to try to help out in this crisis as well.
Yes, we were, had just completed our first regular grant cycle. So we've been giving out some grants previously, but we had opened a more sophisticated sort of cycle and applications. And we were very pleased to award 6 grants to community groups across the Tampa Bay area who were doing some type of stigma reduction programming or mental health first aid training in their group. So organizations like the St. Petersburg Free Clinic and Southeastern Guide Dogs, and even things like the American Stage Company, which is not necessarily a mental health organization, but they were getting ready for a production called Next to Normal that was going to address this topic. And that's the kind of thing that we want to be able to help boost and assist through our grant making. So then, and as COVID came on and everyone's lives have had to change, and organizations have really had to pivot in how they provide their services or how they carry out their mission, just as we all have, from working from home to be more technology based. And so what we're seeing now is we've been in touch with each of the grant awardees to understanding how their programming is going to either be carried on or adapted some way. And much more of it, of course, is shifting to online programming and needs, and specifically in the mental health arena to telehealth and, check-ins with your provider via Zoom and other conferencing needs. So we are very proud of each of the organizations that we support for how quickly they were able to adjust, but they needed additional resources in the way of technology that they weren't necessarily set up for. And if you think about the clients that they serve, and a lot of the more underserved folks in our community didn't have necessarily access to the internet or access to for telehealth, you have to have a wireless connection. And so we've been making some emergency grants in the meantime to help to respond to some of those needs, so that mental health providers working from their home can continue the work of their clients, so that people aren't just alone by themselves with no one to talk to. That's I think the thing that makes individuals the most at risk. So it's all about really connection and breaking through to try and end loneliness, as maybe simplistic as that sounds, and to help be a lifeline to people. So if we can continue to fund or benefit organizations and they can make that connection to their clients, then we feel like we're we're keeping the work going even in this time.
Well, and it feels like probably there's going to be so much more work to do as we all start to cope with the trauma, essentially, of all of this. What kinds of things are you guys thinking about looking ahead, and what can individuals do? As you know, I realize you've been sort of thrust into this role of becoming an expert and an advocate on this.
Oh, and I'm by no means either of those things, or maybe don't do it as well as I would like to. But I have, we all have learned a lot in a few short years, and are trying to really be brave and spread the message. And so I think the biggest thing people can do is not be afraid to talk about mental health, and to reach out and check on their loved ones. You know, you're not necessarily seeing your people face to face or in your normal routine, and so really just pick up the phone and call and check in with folks, and or video conference, or however you can, to really ask them how they're doing, not just superficially, but to have those kind of hard and deep conversations that are needed. I wish we had done with my brother more. And certainly at the time when, I thought he was thriving, he needed that lifeline. And so I encourage people to try and be that lifeline to their loved ones without judgment, and as regularly as they can. And you mentioned, this COVID time and kind of what we are looking at going forward. And as you said, there's just a growing need in our community for mental health work, and we're seeing that in the response right now. Just all of the organizations that we have supported have really had to increase their levels of service that they're able to provide, because there's more demand from the community. And so we know that, like, calls to the mental health various crisis text lines and call numbers are really spiking. And so part of our emergency support has been to just help those groups be able to better address or to handle the increased call volume. So we see that continuing, even as things start to open up. I think there will be an ongoing and lasting need for mental health services, obviously in our community for forever, for a long time to come. And and I'm, will be adjusting on the fly to those, to the needs of our community, trying to sort of forecast into the future. And everyone's looking forward to getting back to events we can hold in person. So we've been planning our next kind of event where we hope that we'll be able to gather in November, actually on Veterans Day, for an event focused on arts and healing, and invite those groups who are doing, art therapy or art programs related to mental health, for a speaker at a new arts campus in St. Pete, which is really exciting. So that's coming together. We're in the planning now, and we're also going to hold several more small, intimate groups, kind of private gatherings in private homes, just to keep people talking about mental health and inviting their friends and learning kind of peer-to-peer.
Well, thanks, Mallory. We have great admiration for your family's efforts and bravery, and we appreciate you helping us spread the word.
Well, thanks for all that the Community Foundation does and helping spread the word, and for all of the kinds of support you provide across the Tampa Bay area and beyond. We're so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.